Hey guys, welcome in. This is Matt Miller with Politibrawl, and Tom Homan just laid down the law at reporters at the White House here as protesters are attacking ICE agents, clashing with law enforcement officers in Broadview, Illinois at the ICE facility. All hell is breaking loose. There's been over 20 arrests at this point. And Tom Homan's response to the reporters is very blunt, and Antifa is not going to like the sound of this. Let's take a look. Here he comes, one of the most formidable people in Trump's administration.
Was presented with as far as options, updated options for potential land strikes in Venezuela when it comes to the war on the cartels.
Out of my lane. I'm not in that lane. I'm sorry.
And any update on the agents that are going to Charlotte as far as the increased immigration effort in Charlotte, North Carolina? Can you talk about that?
I'm not going to discuss any operation until it actually takes place. We'll see if that happens.
Tom, this week the Catholic Bishop sent out a special message. They said they get that countries can secure their borders, but they don't like these mass deportations for Jews.
So according to them, the message we should send to the whole world is that if you cross the border illegally, which is a crime, don't worry about it. If you get ordered removed by a federal judge after due process, don't worry about it, because there shouldn't be mass deportations. If that's the message we send to the whole world, people are still going to put themselves in harm's way to come to the greatest nation on earth. They're going to spend their life savings to give it to a criminal cartel. And we saw during the Biden administration, when there was no immigration enforcement, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey, historic record. A 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl, historic record. Secure borders saves lives. And I wish the Catholic Church would understand that. We have the right to secure our borders like they have the right to secure their facility. You know, you can't enter their facility without getting arrested. Matter of fact, the penalties for entering their facilities are much worse than ours. So, we're going to force the law, and by doing that, we're saving a lot of lives. Secure borders saves lives. And one of the reasons no one talks about why we have the most secure border in the history of this nation is because exactly what ICE is doing. ICE is sending a message to the whole world: don't give your life savings to come to the country, because you're not going to be released. You're not going to cross.
And for what it's worth, I wish that the Catholic Church would stay out of American politics. I don't think it's their place to take a political hard stance, and especially on immigration, where the people who have been coming here illegally, they've been victims too, to the cartels, like Tom Homan's mentioning here. So to pick a side on a very, very complicated issue that they shouldn't be involved with, I think is not the right move. And they're alienating Catholics who want a secure border. It's not anti-Christian to believe in American sovereignty or a strong border. But let's keep listening.
Cross the border illegal, you're going to be prosecuted. So the Catholic Church is wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm a lifelong Catholic. I'm saying it as not only at borders, I'll say it as a Catholic. I think they need to spend time fixing the Catholic Church, in my opinion.
On H-1B visas, did you take the president's recent comments as any kind of a reversal? Do you think that H-1B visa policy is going to change based on hearing him say that?
That's still being discussed, so I have no comment on that right now.
There are reports out of London that British intelligence is no longer sharing intelligence with the US following grave concerns about legality of operations in the Caribbean. Could you confirm that, and what is your reaction to the idea that a key ally like the UK is so skeptical of the legality of your operations?
First of all, it's out of my lane, but I don't think the UK is a friend of this country, a friend of the president. I don't think there's skepticism, and I'm not familiar with not sharing intelligence. Again, it's out of my lane. I'm a border guy, so that's a question for Pete Hegseth or the Secretary of State.
Any more on the protests outside of the Broadview facility?
Here we go.
Any more on the protests outside of the
Look, they got the right to protest. Have at it. But don't cross the line. I was watching the videos before I came out here. When they put hands on a law enforcement officer, they're getting arrested, going to jail. They have a right to protest, but don't cross the line. I mean, if people would just look at the data, the way it reads, that what ICE is doing, the vast majority of public safety trusts, I know some of you here say that's not true, because they're not criminals, cannot convict you. If we arrest somebody in the county jail or state prison that has a criminal conviction, well, it's not, a DUI. Like I read one report says, well, a lot of these are DUIs. That's really not a crime. Really? 12,000 people a year die from DUIs. I consider that a significant public safety threat. But then they say, well, some of these aren't convicted. Well, we arrest them in the county jail. They're in jail, locked in a jail cell because they're arrested for a crime. We consider those convicted and those pending criminal charges criminals. But you got a lot of the media saying, well, most of the people in ICE detention aren't a criminal. Wrong. I looked at the data this morning. More than half are criminals. And as far as what we're arresting, it hovers around 64 to 70% are criminals. And who are the others, 30%, which the media ignores? A lot of them are national security threats. Most national security threats don't have a criminal history. We arrested several thousand Iraqi nationals. Most of them don't have a criminal history. Why is that? Because they're laying low to do whatever they want to do. A lot of them are gang members. A lot of gang members don't have criminal history. And like I said, a lot of them are fugitives. Those who had due process were orderly moved and went and win. Yeah, we're arresting them. But where do the most non-fugitive, non-criminals, non-public safety threat, non-national security threats, where do most of them get arrested? Sanctuary cities. Because rather than giving us the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, they release them in the community. We go in the community and find them. When we find them, many times they're with others. Others in the United States illegally. Well, guess what? They're going to get arrested too. They're in the country legally. It's not okay to be in the country legally. It's not okay to enter the country legally. It's a crime. And the message we're not going to send, come here illegally, just don't commit another crime and you're safe. Not the message we're going to send. That's why we had the most secure border in lifetime in the history of this nation. Not only that, let's not forget, it's just not about immigration. It's just not about a secure community. The stronger the border is, the stronger our national security is, because we now have a pretty good hand on who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, and why it's coming in. Which didn't.
So Democrats created the problem that they're now complaining about, which is these big dramatic ICE arrests on Canal Street in New York City or Chicago or Portland or what have you. And it's because the Democrat mayors have allowed this population of illegal immigrants to hide in and amongst the communities in sanctuary cities across America. If they didn't do that, there wouldn't be these big dramatic arrests at all these different places that the media is then able to cover in a way that makes ICE look like the criminals for just enforcing U.S. immigration law. The Democrats are facilitating this problem. They created this mess. They let these people in. Any other country in the world would have the right to go and deport people who have stayed longer than their visas or came illegally or broke our laws. Even if it's a misdemeanor, which is often what the Democrats say, they still committed a crime. And we don't want to send the message to the rest of the world that there's no consequences for breaking American law. It's as simple as that. It's a matter of just enforcing the laws that we have and enforcing our sovereign border.
1 million gotaways, biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
So
why is
Can I ask you about the refugee cap now? Now that the president has announced that the shutdown is ending, will you consult with Congress on those 2026 refugee targets, or no?
There's discussions going on.
With Congress?
Yes.
It's my understanding that's mandated. That's why I'm asking. I guess I'm curious whether there's flexibility in that number, or is that the number?
I talk to members of Congress every day. So there's discussions going on. But look, it's President ultimate authority, and but I think this administration is working well with members of Congress on anything related to immigration.
Sir Nicolas Maduro down in Venezuela, do you think his days in power are numbered? The pressure's really ramping up.
I can't comment on that.
So as a member of
They keep asking him about defense stuff and military stuff. See, so what's going on right now in Illinois is the protesters have crossed the line from being peaceful protesters into rioters, and they're actually combating police, which is illegal, and that is no longer peaceful protesting. Here we see there's been 21 arrests outside Broadview ICE detention center as protesters clashed with police. 4 officers were injured. So, I mean, this has turned into a situation that's full of chaos, but it was the protesters that crossed the line and became violent and broke the rules here. They're not supposed to be doing this. 21 people were arrested and 4 police officers were injured Friday as protesters clashed with police outside Broadview, a Broadview U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement facility. There was a large protest Friday morning outside the building. Just after 10 a.m., protesters moved from their designated zone, resulting in a clash with police. Protesters were pushed back and several were detained. It was the largest crowd seen in Broadview in recent weeks. So, I mean, in a world now where we have people shooting at ICE facilities, we have antagonistic activists who are crossing that line of being peaceful protesters, which there's no problem with peaceful protesters at all. Protest whatever you want, wherever you want, whatever. But when you are going and encroaching on police and you're being violent with them and you're trying to start a physical altercation, that needs to be controlled. You can't let people do that. And there's real violence against ICE facilities, against ICE agents, for simply enforcing our immigration laws, and it is terrible. It's disgusting. Cook County Sheriff deputies and Illinois State Police and Broadview Police were trying to hold the line. Some were in tactical gear, wearing face masks, holding batons and zip ties. So they were ready for this. Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson said in a statement that 2 Broadview police officers, 1 state trooper, and a Cook County Sheriff's deputy were injured. I have repeatedly pleaded to protesters to raise their voice, not their fist. They have chosen their fist. These out-of-towners have chosen to brutalize police officers who have been protecting their free speech and protecting them against the assaults by ICE agents. We will see them in court, her statement said. So I think the mayor there is mostly right. You know, it's not right to attack police officers and law enforcement officers, and they're there protecting their free speech. Let's look at some of the footage from today. We have Homeland Security tweeting out a video
protection
of what was going on at the
now,
scene.
we are being told to stay back. We're going to follow those rules, of course, but you can see that this really is a stressful situation. Some of those officers back there taking those protesters' gas masks that fell off during the arrest, and we are seeing these people push back from the law enforcement officers. We spoke with some protesters earlier who were very frustrated with local police officers as well as state police officers, what they feel like as being helping the ICE officers. And of course, this arrest happening right here as we speak, and you can hear the crowd screaming shame and shame. But of course, these officers say that this is all for the protection of the people, which is why we have seen these designated protest zones actually put in place. And you can see there is a huge swath of media on my right as well. We've seen at least 3 people arrested, and we're seeing them being taken away into that Cook County Sheriff's office.
So if you are bringing a gas mask to a protest as a protester, you're anticipating that it's going to become a riot. So I don't know if you're going to show up and hold a sign and yell and chant and exercise your First Amendment right. Why do you need a gas mask? Or why do you need this riot gear like this unless you're planning on that being the case? Now, sometimes it's smart to plan ahead, especially as media. You never know what you're walking into. But as a rule of thumb, as a peaceful protester, you shouldn't really need that. But clearly there's agitators there. There's people who wanted to escalate the situation and make it more than it had to be. You know, Tom Homan is doing a great job dealing with one of the central and most contentious points in American politics right now, immigration enforcement of our laws, and deporting the millions of people that came across the border illegally, entering our country, breaking our laws, or they came to seek asylum and the Biden administration gave them temporary approval to be here lawfully, but now they're overstaying that. And if we legally reverse that, then they have to abide by that now. There's new rules. There's a new guy in charge. I don't know why there's this idea that America is responsible for taking in an uncapped number of people from outside of America, right? This is an obligation that no other country feels or is subject to. And the idea that also it's going to do anything to reduce third world poverty or to deal with situations like conflicts that people are fleeing from, is that really the answer that we offer as Americans? Okay, if your country is in turmoil or if you're in an impoverished country, just come to America. Just open the floodgate. There's so many billions of people around the world that are in situations that are not as good as America. They're in countries that have worse conditions than America. If our solution for that is to just inundate our country with anybody and everybody and not have a selective and controlled immigration process like we are allowed to, that's our right as a sovereign country, we're begging for a lot more problems here. Now, yeah, I mean, immigration is important. We need immigrants in this country. I'll say that as a conservative and as a Trump supporter, but we need to fix our legal immigration system so that people can come legally through a process that makes sense, that works, and so that we as a country can control how many and who is allowed to come in. We're not accepting cartel members. We're not accepting security threats like Tom Homan mentioned. And we can vet people because we know who is coming and we allow them. We have the final say. Yes, you're allowed to become a naturalized citizen here in America, and we're only accepting, 2 million this year or whatever it is, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, however much you want it to be. But what's not acceptable is just having a wide open border, letting anybody come into this country that they want. Because, of course, nefarious actors at that point are allowed to come in. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be bringing you a lot more news coverage here. Thank you for your support. Stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.